to talk a little bit about immigration. I'm going to go back and we're going to touch on a few different issues here in regards to this anchor babies and all this type of stuff, you know. It used to be if you had a baby here, yeah, they were granted, a birth certificate and were American citizens due to being born in American soil. But from my own experience in life, well, from my father, we'll go and look at my own background here. My father was born in San Juan, Texas in 1947, and his parents, my grandparents, were here illegally. They were here working in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas, in the fields and in the orchards, picking grapefruit, that kind of thing. And my grandmother was pregnant, obviously, and she went to the hospital, and she had my father, who was given an American birth certificate, and after he was born, and they had their little birth certificate, they were deported. Straight back to Mexico. And they moved to Monterrey, Mexico, and lived in absolute poverty there. There were 7 kids in the family altogether. But see, he was born here, so he's an American citizen. But you didn't get to stay just because you had a kid. It didn't work that way. You couldn't just say, I have a kid here. I get to stay. No, you don't. You still have to apply for citizenship. Or you don't. And maybe your kid can come back someday, like which is in the case of my father. What happened? Or he had the opportunity when he was 14 to come up here to the States and, learn English and go to school and all that good stuff and graduate high school, blah, blah, blah. But my grandparents never became citizens of this country. And, they were stuck in Monterrey. They couldn't come back up here just because they had a child that had American citizenship. So right off the bat, that idea that having a baby somehow makes you entitled to free citizenship is absurd. Okay, now on another level, from my own personal experience again. So again, you can see right off the bat that I don't agree with these people with their anchor babies saying that they can stay here, that they should be allowed to stay here. Well then, if that's the case, then why was my father and his parents not allowed to stay here? He had to go back with them back to Mexico. How is this any different now just because it's been, 60 years later or whatever? How is it any different? It's still the same. The Constitution says that if you're born here, you're a citizen. Okay, granted. But if you are the child of illegal immigrants, you go back with them when they're deported because that's just how it works. Because you need parents, and what's the state supposed to raise you now? The government? Now, the other irony to this is, this whole immigration debate, these illegal immigrants, and that's what they are, not undocumented Americans, like some website was claiming they were asking for their own Bill of Rights, so to speak, which is ridiculous. I can tell you a couple different things about that right off the bat. So let me stay on topic, though, with the immigration aspect in regards to my own family. My wife and my 2 larger kids, my 2 big kids, my step kids, are all from Mexico. I applied to get them citizenship. The process took me thousands of dollars, okay, and it took almost 2 years to do legally, okay. When we came into the United States, before any of that even happened, before coming in, we had to sit for a week in Ciudad Juarez, which is like, I hate this expression, but it's probably true, the armpit of North America, where all visa situations were handled in Ciudad Juarez. And we had to sit there for over a week. It cost me, I don't know how much money that. Not only that, when my wife went to this, for example, she was strip searched. Supposedly the excuse behind this was to look for gang tattoos. Okay? When you come in illegally, of course, you're not subjected to strip searches, are you? Of course, I understand that they have to deal with all sorts of different types of dangers, etc. But that's what that's to be expected when you're engaging in a criminal activity and you're hiring criminals to smuggle you into another country. You're going to deal with unscrupulous people who might turn you into another victim. You're already a victim because you're having to be in this situation to begin with, so to speak, blah, blah, blah. But now you're a victim of another person who's a criminal, who's going to be a predator and take full advantage of you. So, okay, so anyway, back on topic. So we have this situation. So when you come into the United States, there's another little beauty, which I think most people don't know. When you come in legally, you are not eligible for any sort of aid, okay, from the state or the government. Meaning, if you needed food stamps for some reason, and you're here legally, you can't get them until you've been in the United States for 5 years, okay? 5 years. You can go look this up too. If you look at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, it talks about exactly what types of restrictions are on these people as far as what they can receive. They cannot. They don't get any SNAP. Okay, they cannot get that. So no help with food. Okay, obviously they cannot get SSI, and that again requires. They can eventually, but it requires at least 5 years of residency. So there's none of that. TANF, all that type of stuff is denied to you until you've been in the United States at least 5 years. Okay, I bet you most people didn't know that. Now, if you came in illegally, guess what? You can get all of it: food stamps, welfare, TANF, whatever you want. You can get it all. Not only this, here's another thing: when you come in legally, you have to get someone in the United States to basically claim for you that if anything financially bad happens to you during this time period, that they would be willing to support you. In my case, my mother did that for us, which was another whole big, as we say in Spanish, trámite, meaning a big bureaucratic nightmare, mailing documents to Texas, mailing documents down to Ciudad Juarez, blah, 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 get someone to sign it, notarize, whatever. So think about that for a minute, okay? You can't even, oh, now here's another thing. You cannot, if she had divorced me, if my wife wanted to divorce me for some reason, it's too late now. I mean, well, now would be the time to do it, I should say, actually. But during that 5-year time period, you can't get divorced either from whoever it is you're married in order to prevent fraud. So the restrictions on legal green card holding people are more restrictive than those of the illegal. Now, let's cut back to another aspect of it, work and all that good stuff. I taught in Mexico for almost 4 years, teaching English as a second language. I went down there with my bachelor's degree, and I had a certification through another college of linguistics for a certification in regards to teaching English as a second language. I taught there. I went and got what's called an FM3 visa. An FM3 visa in Mexico allows one to work, okay, legally. You become part of the system, which means you pay taxes to the government. You also get real socialized medical care, meaning that you don't pay for it, and it could be any procedure from pregnancy to cancer, whatever, totally free, because it's paid for from out of the oil industry in Mexico, Pemex. Now I had to pay $400 for that permit in order to work legally in Mexico. $400, and you have to update it every year, and they have to keep track of your address, and it's very strict. You can't. Well, here's one thing that you can't do that should shock everybody. Guess what? While you are there legally with an FM3 visa, you cannot protest in any way the policies of the Mexican government or the Mexican government in general. So if I was out protesting with a sign saying equal rights for FM3 holders, guess what? I can be deported. So it really bugs me when I see these people, these totally illegal alien immigrants, whatever you want to call them, standing around, particularly like in California, with their signs protesting this government and the state. What? Go back to your own country. What happens to you there if you're like me and you were there legally? You get deported. Then, this Trump character has been talking about building a wall along the border of Mexico and the United States. Well, I don't really agree with that. I mean, it reminds me of the Berlin Wall or something, but whatever. But, interestingly enough, the border along Guatemala and Mexico has a wall. And they're very strict about allowing Guatemalans in because they don't want them in Mexico. Imagine that. Because they take jobs away from people that are already struggling to find jobs, considering that Mexico, the majority of the population of Mexico, lives in abject poverty. It may not seem that way in the postcards or when you take a trip to Cancun, but if you were to go a bit in and get to know what's going on, in the majority of states in Mexico, people live pretty low. They don't got a lot of money. You have to go to the big cities like Monterrey, Mexico City, even Cancun, I guess, to some degree. But overall, the majority of people live in poverty in Mexico. Fact. Okay? So, there are already problems. People are migrating from all over Mexico to the bigger cities like Monterrey, for example. They're migrating there for work. So you have these people that are uneducated coming in from Central and South America to Mexico, because Mexico is like 20 steps above a country like Honduras or Guatemala or Nicaragua. Okay? That's the fact. Or Venezuela, for God's sakes. So you've got all these people trying to get into Mexico, and of course a lot of them use it as their springboard to get into the United States, illegally. So, I mean, Mexico doesn't want these people in their country either, okay? But you're not going to hear about this. Again, There's so many injustices to this. I mean, the amount of money and time that it takes to get a legal green card, to get into the United States legally, is time consuming. It's a lot of money that you plunk down. I mean, I don't even really know. I would guess for the 3 kids and all the expenses associated with it, you know, it may be close to $10,000. I really don't know anymore. I mean, I couldn't even keep track of all the expenses that were involved with this and all the different fees there are, and you have to file this paperwork and then file another piece of paperwork and then this paperwork and then wait, and it's a bureaucracy. So of course you're always going to be dealing with that. But so these people coming here, I mean, you know, Mexico doesn't mess around, man. You go in there and you protest their government, they kick you out. No matter if you're legal or not, you pay the money, you're there legally, you're contributing to their society. I'm bringing my education, okay? I was teaching English as a second language, a boon for them in Mexico. So I wasn't there just, la-di-da, I'm living off the, you know, on the dole in Mexico. No, I worked a lot in Mexico, legally. Again, it's my choice. I was tired of what was going on in the United States after 9/11, so that's why I left. Okay, after 9/11, I said, this is enough of this crap. People had lost all ability to think clearly, so that's where I went in order not to have to pay taxes to this government. Okay, so I had my reason behind going to Mexico to begin with. It was an opportunity for me to get away, etc. But anyways, my point is, overall, if one was to look at this discussion, this debate, logically, okay, if these people are allowed to come in for free and get citizenship without having to do any of the paperwork or the trámite or the money or the expense or the time that people that came in legally, you know, had to do, then it doesn't. It's a moot point. Are they going to reimburse me for my time? Are they going to reimburse me for my money, for my wife and my 2 big kids? I mean, seriously? So if you do it the right way, you get screwed over. And now if you do it the wrong way, the illegal way, now you're rewarded. I mean, it's completely ludicrous. It is absolutely insane. No country, no sane country should have immigration policies like that. And I know that whole thing going on in Europe is a big giant monster too. But I'm talking about just here with Mexico. I mean, we've got millions of illegal aliens working here, not contributing and taking from the system. I've worked in education for the last 13 years and I've seen it in the public schools. It's outrageous. People come in here that are totally ignorant. I mean, from the mountains, man, just the most, you know, what do you want them here for? What are they going to contribute to our culture? Oh, I know, diversity. Oh my God, we got enough diversity already. Look at the beautiful problems it's been causing in this country, all this diversity. So, I mean, don't tell me that. We've got enough Mexicans, and I hate those terms, Hispanics, Latinos, etc. Mexican Americans, whatever you want to call them, people of Mexican origin, like myself, actually, because I would be considered a Mexican American, you know, who have had to suffer, who have had to pay, who've lost what education they may have had, like my wife, for example, who was already somewhat educated and in law, came here and had to start all over again. She did everything the right way. And for the last 2 years, for example, we've been making so much money, we're so wealthy, and that's total sarcasm. We're barely above poverty level, really. One of us would be right on the verge if we were not a couple of being in poverty. Okay, we've been paying our government every year for the last 2 years. For the last 2 years, we've been paying our government at our tax time. We're paying them. I think total in the last 2 years have been $9,000 of our money that has gone to paying this government back. For what? I don't know. But this is what we've put up with. And we're legal immigrants. My wife is a legal immigrant. My father's a legal immigrant. These other people running around here are not legal immigrants. They're sucking on the system, and I don't care what anybody says, the statistics prove it. There's plenty of research online about them being criminals and everything else. That's a whole other segment of the population. Then you have people like myself, with my wife, my educated wife, all my kids. My daughter's in school right now. My son is working as a chef. Okay, my wife works in a professional field. She got her education. She owes money to the U.S. government for financial aid. She was able to get that. You know, but we've been here already in the United States for almost 10 years. Okay, so we've gotten established in that time period. Either way, when everybody starts arguing about this, just remember that there are people that have come here legally and done things the right way. And to just give citizenship to a bunch of people who've been milking the system, having anchor babies, as they're calling them, having these kids, thinking that somehow that's going to save them, obviously don't know their history. And I do know about the Bracero program. We brought them in and all this kind of stuff. I know about all that. I've done enough research on this, believe me, just simply because of my life and where I grew up, growing up in South Texas. So I know. But this is not right. Don't let people convince you. There are plenty of legal immigrants here who have worked their asses off to be where they are and have done it the right way. Excusing these masses of people who have just snuck in is inexcusable. So that's my 25 cents on this topic. I seriously hope that somebody's out there listening and paying attention to us people that have dealt with the legalities of immigration and not just these people who have not. All right, I'm out. Take care. Bye-bye.